Hi, and welcome to Mrs. PM Reads, where we are continuing in the Magic Circle by Katherine Neville. In our last video, Ariel was able to put together a few connections. They're talking about 200 years since the French Revolution, as well as the development of uranium. And then they're talking about mythology and Prometheus, Zeus, et cetera, et cetera. Then we're talking about historical scientists, philosophers, Socrates. And basically, let me skim. Okay. Socrates somebody believed that the earth, maybe it was Nikola Tesla, somebody believed that the earth was not round. It was made up of a connection of polygons full of energy. And if you were to find the correct point of energy where everything came together, it could be catastrophic, basically. Yeah. So they're talking about Pandora the grandmother, and kind of equating it to Pandora's box back in the day, saying it could be good or it could be evil. And actually, that's the title of our next section, Good and Evil. So Socrates is saying, you speak of good and evil. And Glaucon, whoever he is, says, I do. Socrates says, I wonder if you understand them as I do. And that is from Plato in the Republic. Despite the best intentions, oh gosh, I read this and then I think I didn't finish it, but here's what's going to happen. I'm going to skip the first page of this section because it is basically about Ariel and Wolfgang spending the night together and having a wonderful time. So the next section says, Le Deux Magots is one of the most famous cafes in Paris. It was once the favorite rendezvous of the literati, as well as the underground, two groups that, in France, had often boasted the same membership. Everybody from Hemingway to de Beauvoir and Sartre had hung out there, and apparently also Zoe Ben. So please, we're going to have some more names here too. Please forgive my mispronunciation of foreign language words and names. All right. As we crossed the square of Saint-Germain-des-Prés, its sculpted chestnut trees already coming into bloom, Wolfgang pointed her out, seated alone at a corner table in the sunny glass-walled outdoor solarium that gave onto the open plaza. We entered through the restaurant past the famous wooden statues, the two Magos. These oriental figures in their robes of blue and green and gold, surrounded by gilded mirrors, hovering on thrones above the bar, seemed like Elijah's swept from the streets of Paris up to heaven in chariots of fire. We went out to the glassed-in terrace. As we crossed to Zoe, I studied this woman, my infamous grandmother, of whom so many scandalous things had been said and written over so many years. She might be 83, but as she sat there sipping her glass of bubbly, it seemed the life she'd lived, lavish with wine, men, and dance, hadn't served her badly at all. She sat tall in the saddle, as Oliver would say, with a proud bearing that complemented fine, unweathered skin and the remarkable French braid of snowy hair that fell nearly to her waist. The strength revealed in her face recalled Lapp's comment that as a child, she'd had all the self-containment of Attila the Hun. When we reached her corner table, she studied me with intense aquamarine eyes, a shade somewhere between Wolfgang's turquoise and my mother's famous ice blue ones. Wolfgang presented me to her formally, pulled out a chair, and seated me when Zoe nodded. She addressed Wolfgang, her English lightly flavored with a mixture of accents, never taking her eyes from me. The resemblance is truly remarkable, she told him. What must Dacian's reaction have been the first time he saw her? At first, he found it difficult to speak, Wolfgang admitted. I don't mean to be rude, Zoe told me. You must understand, Pandora was unique. Now that she's dead, it's startling to encounter someone who is almost her incarnation, down to the finest detail. You've done well, having avoided most of your family for all these years. Seeing this amazing replica of Pandora on a more regular basis, we might all have had to resort to taking salts or drinking something stronger than champagne. She was something powerful to be reckoned with, I can tell you. For the first time, she smiled, and there was a glimpse of that languid sensuality that she'd been renowned for, I guess, an attribute, as I recalled, that for nearly 4 decades had brought nobles and magnates to their knees, spilling riches at her feet. Were you very close to my grandmother? I asked. Then, remembering that Zoe was also my grandmother, I said, I know what you mean. Don't apologize, she cut in curtly. One day, perhaps you'll learn the most important lesson I could ever teach you, that you may do and say as you please in this life, so long as you apologize for nothing. I had the feeling, in Zoe's case, this little rule of thumb must have come in handy more than once. She'd motioned for the waiter to come pour champagne into 2 more glasses that had been sitting at the side table, awaiting our arrival. They were already partly filled with a mysterious purplish mixture, which the waiter stirred into a cloud as he poured. This drink is called Lazo, she told us. Like my name, it means life. The concoction was created for me one night at Maxim's. Oh my, how many years ago? Everyone in Paris who wished to be chic drank it. I wanted to meet you here at the Do Mego for a toast to life. As no one comes out so early, we can also speak privately here. I wish to tell you of the missing Mago. It's M-A-G-O-T. I just want to say maggot, but that has 2 G's. So Mago, and how he relates to us. Then, as it's also the case that no one goes to lunch until 2 or so, I've made us reservations at the Cloisier des Lilas in a few hours from now. I expect at the hotel where you're stopping, you've been given a decent breakfast. I sat there frozen-faced, trying desperately not to let my telltale skin flush beet red at recalling our breakfast this morning. Wolfgang squeezed my hand meaningfully under the table. Perhaps just a dish of olives, he told the waiter in French. When he departed, Wolfgang added to Zoe, in America, one doesn't take alcohol quite so early in the day without a bite of food. Except my Bachelanian family, I thought. We lifted our glasses to life. With my first sip, the dark, heady flavor of this drink tasted somehow of danger. Ariel, Zoe pronounced my name with an almost proprietary expression. Her next words made clear why. Since your mother has always kept our relationship secret, perhaps you weren't told that it was I who selected your name. Can you guess after whom you were called? Wolfgang told me Ariel was an ancient name of Jerusalem and that it means lioness of God, I said. But I'd always imagined I was named for the little spirit Ariel, who was held in bondage by Prospero, the magician, in Shakespeare's The Tempest. No, but in fact, you were named for another spirit who was later patterned after that one, Zoe said. Then she quoted in German, and I'm not even going to try, but translation is down here. Ariel sings and plays the harp, I translated. If nature gave you wings, ... follow my steps to a hill of roses. What's that from? From Faust, Wolfgang said. It's the scene atop the Brocken Mountain on the night called Walpurgisnacht, an ancient German festival invoked by Goethe in his play. The word means the night they cleanse the woods with fires. Zoe looked at Wolfgang as if there were some unspoken significance in what he'd just said. Then Granny, ever so charmingly, pulled the pin from her hand grenade. That part of Faust, the cleansing scene, is when the little spirit Ariel cleanses Faust of the bitterness and suffering he's caused others, she told us. Often, mind you, Faust had harmed them unintentionally in his quest for higher wisdom as a magus, US. You know, it was Lucky's favorite passage. He wept tears every single time he heard it. Then she added, most people don't realize that the night he died, April 30th, 1945, was also May Eve, which is to say he killed himself and Ava too on Walpurgisnacht. Same word. Lucky, Wolfgang asked, puzzled. I realized he'd missed last story revealing our family's cute nickname for the world's most evil tyrant. But April 30th, 1945, it's a famous date. Day Hitler committed suicide. That was lucky? Why, yes, I commented cynically. A family friend, it would seem. I'm surprised you hadn't heard. But there was something I hadn't heard, which I'd have been only too happy to have missed myself. Not really a friend, Zoe replied with remarkable zangfreud. One might say practically a member of the family. Uh-oh. While I was collecting myself from that remark, she added, let me see if that's okay, we'll go. While I was okay. You must realize I knew him since I was a child. The truth is, Lucky was an ordinary man with ordinary skills and a background and education, but one who knew that his great strength lay in simplicity. That was what made it more frightening to many, I think, for beneath it was something primal that resonates in one without conscious awareness. With Lucky, it was more than just mass hypnosis, as many wish to believe. Everything about him was archetypical. He touched a place of truth in everyone. She paused and added chillingly, after all, he didn't personally pull a trigger 13 million times, nor did he give written orders for others to do so. Lucky knew all he needed was to make people feel they were given permission to do what is hidden within them, what lurks in their hearts. I felt truly ill. Yeah. Zoe regarded me coolly with those steely blue eyes as she sat there sipping her plum-tinged champagne that looked like blood. The sunlight seemed suddenly cold. It was true. Laugh and everyone else had warned me Zoe was a card-carrying Nazi collaborator, but that was before I was sitting here, sipping a drink named for her, hearing the noxious news from her very own lips. And it was surely before I'd learned that this stormtrooper before me was my own grandmother. It was no wonder Jersey wanted to disclaim her. I felt like throwing up. But instead, I gritted my teeth and pulled myself together. I carefully set down my own glass of purple poison and squared off to confront her face to face. Ooh. Watch out. All right, we're going to stop there. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.